In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to do a Tunisian ribbed hat. This is Tunisian crochet, and guess what? You're not having to change colors because the yarn does this on its own. The hat just like so. This yarn colors that you see is inside this brand new, this is a brand new yarn line called Bernat Super Value Stripes. It changes color really slowly, so then it will then be yellow for a while, and then it will change to pink, to green, to blue, to green, to other colors. Amazing. It's a really cool yarn, and so you don't need to cut or trim any yarns because this is doing the work on its own. So when we go to do this particular pattern, you're going to be working in a panel like so. So this is what we had in the beginning Tunisian series. So I'm making a hat and I'm using Peyton's Denemy on this one. So this is what I'm using for this. Okay, so you can see that you can just change the yarns as long as it complements the hook in order to keep the size. And so what happens with this one is that we're going to be making a flat panel, and it's gonna stay the same size for a while until we get to a certain measurement as you see in the pattern, and then we're gonna start decreasing stitches on this particular hook in order to make it work. What you're looking at here is a combination of a knit stitch and a Tunisian purl stitch, and I'm gonna be showing you that in just a moment. To do this particular project, you're gonna need a size 6mm or size J Afghan hook just like this, and you're going to need it long enough so that you can get all of your stitches. This hat is available in two sizes. It's a child and an adult, and you'll just have two different sizes. So it says chain 72 to start if you're a child, chain 76 to start if you're an adult. So it's not much of a difference, but it makes a huge difference on the sizing. So what we're going to be doing today is that I'm gonna just show you a mini example of how to do this particular stitch work, because actually once you get started you realize how easy it is. So let's create a slip knot, and I'm just going to be able just to do maybe about 15. I want you to either do your 72 if it's a child or 76 if it's an adult. Okay, so what we want to do is that the first one never counts as one. So I'm only gonna do 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So you'll go to the size that you want. My purpose of this tutorial today is to show you how to do the knit stitch as well as the Tunisian purl together in order to make that ribbing just like you see in the photograph. So once you have your chain done, we're simply just gonna do everything the same way. So we're gonna skip to the second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, turn it over and get the back loop only, and just grab your stitch and just start collecting. So this is like regular Tunisian because it is regular Tunisian, and we start collecting all the way back and go all the way. So you have to make sure that you can get enough of your stitches on your Afghan hook. You won't need a really big Afghan hook for this, like with the extension cord or anything like that. You should be able to get everything on. So just go all the way to the end, collecting each one. So by the time you get all the way to the other side, you should have the exact same quantity of chains that you started with. So you can just double count if you wish. It does make a difference because you are doing ribbing effect. You want that ribbing effect to really show clearly and not be any abnormalities in the middle of it. So just continue to go all the way back. Okay, and I'm done. Okay, so you're gonna have your whole mount. So this is what it looks like at this point, and now I want to come back in the other direction. We never turn our work when it comes to this particular project. So let's begin to go all the way back. How we go back is gonna be the identical no matter which row we're on going forward for the rest of this project. To begin to go back, we just yarn over and pull through the first loop only, and then yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2, and we do that all the way back. So it's not until this next row that we're gonna start doing the ribbing effect. So the ribbing effect is based on alternating of 2 stitches in a row of the knit stitch and 2 stitches in a row of the purl stitch. We're all the way back, and now let's begin to start making this pattern. Regardless of the size that you're working on, it's always gonna be starting off the same way. So we're gonna start off and do the knit stitch first. Okay, so the simple stitch is just always in front of the first vertical, and then we grab the yarn and etc. We don't want to do that. So what we want to do is that we want to go into the first vertical but go back through the back side. Okay, and in actual fact we're through 2 loops. So you see how there's 2 strings there coming down. right in there, we're going right directly in between them and out through the back of the project, and then grab the yarn and pull up. So go to the next one. So through the back, this is Tunisian. Okay, so now you've done that. So the next two are gonna be pearls. So what you have to do is that you have to get this yarn from back into the front. Now you could either just move your hand down in front and then get into the next vertical and then just go around, or you can do what I would do is just use this hook, push this yarn forward, so don't go into the next vertical like this, push the hook in front of that carrying string and then go in and pin. So, and just pinch. So let me show that again. So the next two is a knit, so in diagonally. Okay, so the purl, just use this hook, pull forward, going into the next vertical, pinch and pull. Okay, so we've covered this before in 2 other tutorials now in this series, and we do that twice in a row. So then the next two are knit stitch, so just invert diagonally, and then the next two are purl, so just move that yarn in front, pinch and pull. You don't really see this pattern starting to take effect until you're further on. So we're right, we have one more to go. So this would be a knit stitch to keep in line, and then the other side we just go into a chain stitch right in the end and pull through. So we're ready to now to go backward just like we did before. So to go backward we just chain 1 to the first loop and then yarn over and pull through 2. And we do that all the way back. So the ribbing doesn't really show its true colors until you're about an inch into the project, from what I've been able to tell. Like so. So let's begin to do this pattern once again. So you don't really see it going on yet, but it will. Just give it some time. So the key is to remember what you did. So we always started off with 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. So we're just gonna start off and we're gonna knit where we've done the knit before. So just do the knit stitch for the first 2 because that's what you did already before, and the next 2 is a purl. So just move the hook down so the yarn is in front, pinch and pull front. Now I'm making it look simple on camera. This takes a bit of getting used to for the purling. Okay, so the next 2 are knit. The next 2 are purl. So just move the yarn in front. When I saw the purl for the first time I was really struggling with this stitch because my tension was always off. So you have to come up with your own way of doing things. Okay, so the next 2 are knit, and then the next 2 are purl. See how I'm using my hook to, instead of wasting valuable energy on this hand. So then the last one is a knit and then into the edge. Pull through. So let's go back. So yarn over, pull through the first one only, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're gonna do that continually. So what happens on this particular pattern is that you have to continue to make this panel just as you see it for a set number of inches. I believe for the adults it's I think 16.5 inches. It's a lot more than I thought, but it does make sense by the time you see it done. So okay, so let's do again. So the first 2 are knits, so going in diagonally just like this. The next 2 are purl, so in. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you something. What happens is sometimes you might get lost in your pattern. Sometimes you forget about the second purl, and sometimes it kind of looks close to this one. Just be conscientious that you are paying attention because you will see it in the next round. And the great thing about Tunisian is that if you are screwing up in any way you can just pull it out and reverse to where you were, versus conventional knitting. If you drop something or you leave something behind, it's almost impossible to fix it. Okay, so the next 2 are purls, and I can slightly see the pattern starting to emerge, and the next 2 are knit. So the knit is just ram it in there. The purl is a little bit of extra hand motion, but when you see it all done It looks amazing. So the last one's a knit and then the edge. Okay, so just yarn over, pull through 1 and then 2 all the way back. So this is a brand new yarn called Bernat Stripes, and it's a really neat thing with variegation that is a long distance instead of a really quick transition. It does transition to the next color really quickly, so it's not a slow transition to each colorway. Okay, so that's what you can see. And when you pull out my other example here with the Peyton's Denim, you can really see that the ribbing looks amazing. I think this is one of the coolest examples I've ever done. It looks like it's knitted. That's Tunisian, right? It looks amazing on either side, but definitely there is a good side to it. So let's review on what you need to do when you get to the certain height that you need, and then you need to start decreasing it at the top. So here's what the pattern is going to look like once you get to the certain prescribed size. You're either going to have 5 inches or 6.5 depending on the size that you wish to go for. Now, due to the miracles of the internet, this is a fast forward example, and this example was crocheted by my guest Della Wilkins. She's a Tunisian expert, and so basically she has done this in advance so that I can learn how to do it myself. So I'm learning along with you. So let's begin to learn how to do the decreasing now. So let's learn how to do the shaping of the top of the hat. So it says what we have is that you'll have 5 inches or 6.5 inches of your panel, which is what we have here. It's going to be a large rectangle, and then it says work established rib pattern across. So it means that basically we've been doing the knit stitch and we have been doing the purl stitch, so whatever is prescribed in the row below, we're going to do the same above to keep the patterning consistent, right? So what's going to happen, it says work the established rib pattern across, so just follow what you see underneath and then just skip the next stitch. So if you're skipping, for example, a knit, basically you're going to totally ignore that, but just continue to go, and we're just going to be able to follow this up so that the ribbing all looks consistent when it comes to the top of the hat. So it says we're going to skip the next, and we're going to do that 8 times all the way across. So every time we're going to do 8 stitches, we're going to skip the next and we'll do that 8 times. So basically we have to then go across, and it says on the last 0 says work the established rib pattern all the way across to the last 0, so that means all the way to the last stitch, but if you're doing the adult size, to the last 4 stitches, and do not turn and do the return pass. So basically there's a sizing difference on how you're going to shape the top of the hat at the end of these instructions. All of these instructions that you see here is all of the decreasing as we're going to do. So the next one we're going to do is that we're going to go forward, and then we're just going to skip so many stitches as well. So let's begin to show you how to do this, and let's start right now. So we're going to start, and we're going to do the first 8 stitches like we would have had been doing before. So even though the color of the project's changed, it's still the same thing. So we're going to knit the first 2 and then purl the next 2. So I have to count stitches at this time. So this is going to be stitch number 4, and then I'm going to knit 5, knit 6, knit or purl 7, and purl 8 down here. Okay, and now I have my 8 in there, so then it says to skip the stitch. So I'm going to skip this first knit one, and then I'm going to knit into the other one because it's already knit. Okay, so basically we're going to skip that one, and the 8 starts right here where I've skipped over. So this first one is 1, and then the next 2 are purling, 2 for purl, 3 for purl, 4 for knit, 5 for knit. This is how I'm doing it myself. 6 for purl, 7 for purl. Hope that's not a purl stitch. 7 for purl, and then 8 for knit. So then that means that the next one that I'm about to do, I'm going to skip over. Okay, so the next one is going to be skipping over the purl, so then I'm going to purl into the to the second one over. So I'm going to skip. So it's creating these gaps in between is what you want. So that was 1, and then what we have here is 1 for purl, 2 for knit, 3 for knit, 4 for purl, 5 for purl, okay, 6 for knit, okay, 7 for knit, okay, and then 8 for purl, and then we skip over the next one. Okay, and then the next one's a knit. So you want to continue to do that all the way across so that the patterning is maintaining itself. So please do that same configuration going all the way across. When you get all the way to the other side, all you're just going to do then is just yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 as your return pass is going all the way across. So nothing in the return pass changes. All we're just doing is skipping stitches every 1/8 on the last one, which is going to cause the work to start decreasing naturally and has a great look. So what I'm gonna continue this all the way back, and then I'm gonna review this one more time. You can follow the instructions because basically the instructions just move along and you're just changing. Instead of skipping, instead of doing 8 and skipping, the next one is doing 7 and skipping, and then so forth and so forth in the instructions. So basically what's gonna happen is that it's going to naturally have all these ribs kind of meet up at the top of the hat as you go. So I'm all the way back and now I'm ready to begin again. So basically we're just going to follow with what we have already in the row below. So this time what we're going to do is that we're going to do the next 7 stitches. Okay, so we're going to do the next 7 and then skip 1. So last time it was 8, this time it's 7. So 1 for knit, 2 for knit, 3 for purl. This is what I'm saying in my brain, it just makes it easier for me. 4 for purl, 5 for knit, 6 for knit, 7 for purl, and now I'm going to skip over the next one. Okay, so there's my 7. So then basically you can see that there's not an extra knit, there's only one here, and so we're not worrying about what's not there, we're only looking what is there. So the next one is a knit for 1. Okay, so what we have is a knit for 1, purl for 2, purl for 3, knit for 4, knit for 5, purl for 6, purl for 7. So there's my 7. I'm gonna skip the next one, and you happen to see it's another knit one that I'm skipping, so no big deal. And then we're going to then move over to the next one that you see here. So we're just gonna pick up the next one. So you're gonna do that all the way across, and you're just going to be eliminating stitches out but following what's in the row below in order to make it work, and it becomes really quite simple that way. Okay, so just continue to do that. This whole pattern is like that. Just follow the instructions. It'll take you all the way to row number 7. Remember the row the passes coming back are not an additional row. That's the return pass. And then basically what's gonna happen is that you're gonna end up with a nice shape at the top, and then you're just gonna draw a loop through everything and pull everything nice and tight. So basically each time you're gonna do one of these passes, it's gonna get more bowl shape at the top, and then being able to finish off your hat quite nicely. So that's how you would do it. Decrease stitches at the top with maintaining the pattern that is already there in order to look consistent. So here is the official model's hat, and basically you can see how this ribbing kind of kept itself individualized, and then these two ribs kind of ran into each other to make one. So basically what we're doing here is that with your decreased stitches you're maintaining that ribbing patterning as you're going up, and basically then once you're done you're just going to sew the two sides together, pull everything together at the top, and then you have everything nicely done just like so, and that's what the inside looks like, just like there. So here is a sample that's been completed, and it's not yet put together, but this is what it's gonna look like. So we've gone through the whole formation just like you see here, and you can see that it's kind of bowling up towards the top. That's because we've already started decreasing stitches at the top. And here's the long end. We want to draw all the way through, and then we want to pull it tight, and then what we want to do then is on the inside we want to sew the seam together so that you end up with a perfect hat just like so. So you want to choose your colors carefully when you're going to sew everything together. Let's take a look at the inside of this hat. See, the inside looks pretty too. So you can see that the stitch work is all sewn on the inside. And if you want to do a pom-pom, there's instructions for using your fingers in order to make your pom-pom. So you don't need to buy a pom-pom maker in order to make that work. And then basically you can just do it exactly how it's shown. So hopefully this gives you an indication on how to make a rib stitch hat. I'm making my own. I'm really proud of my hat, I have to say. I cannot wait to see this come together, and I think it's gonna be totally amazing at the same time. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. See ya.